Hello and welcome to Rise of the Data Cloud. Today's episode features an interview with Ari Margalit, Global Vice President of Architecture and Data Solutions at Anheuser Busch InBev. Ari was previously the CTO and Head of Solutions at Weiss Burger and Vice President of R&D and Israel Site Manager at Jive Software. On this episode, Ari talks about ABI leading the global beer industry in AI, the importance of being cloud agnostic, the negligible impact coronavirus has had on sales of Corona, one of the company's top brands, and much more. So please enjoy this conversation between Ari Margalit, Global Vice President of Architecture and Data Solutions at Anheuser Busch InBev, and your host, Steve Ham.
Hey, Ari, good to meet you. And I'm really intrigued to see that photograph behind you on the Zoom call. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It looks like a big brewery.
Yes, I took that photo in InBev Brewery in Jaguaruna. Yeah, one of our breweries in Brazil.
That's in Brazil.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
One of our breweries in Brazil.
Yeah. What impressed you so much about that brewery?
First of all, if you go there, we did some tour. If you go there, they have an amazing wall where you see the evolvement of AB InBev. So at the end, you see how this monster company was just started with one brewery of Brahma in Brazil. So you see, so where I was, this used to be a brewery of Antarctica that used to be Brahma's biggest competitor in Brazil, and then they merged. So this is how this great company started. And I went to that brewery. It was super exciting to see, and also you see there how technology meet, classical brew mastering. So it was pretty cool.
You mentioned some of the subsidiary or previous companies to Anheuser Busch InBev there. Maybe it would be good if we started off by you describing it. I mean, everybody knows you're, in the beer business, but if you could describe this sprawling global company with all these brands, I think that would be helpful to the listener to understand the business and its various dimensions.
So first of all, just to understand, AB InBev is a very big company. It's a 180,000 employees company. I think lately I saw the number of employees we have in Microsoft. I think it's smaller. So this is huge. And it was made out of M&As and many companies coming together. People that came from investment banking, just, taking right decisions and buying companies. And at the end, it became Anheuser Busch InBev. So I think the journey started with Ambev that merged with InBev. So Ambev was a Brazilian big company, and they merged with a beer company from Belgium called Interbrewery. And then they joined together to become InBev. Then they bought Anheuser Busch, right, which was the biggest American beer company. So Anheuser Busch with InBev became Anheuser Busch InBev. They also, along the way, bought several other breweries, including Modelo in Mexico. So this is a huge beer company, but it's actually a joint family of breweries that came together. And that's it.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if you just list off the 4 or 5 or 6 most well-known brewery brands.
Our 3 most known global brands are Stella Artois, Budweiser, and Corona, right? We all know those brands. I think the next one in lines that are globally known are Laf and Orgarden, which are our Belgium brands, and of course Michelob Ultra that is becoming very big in North America and Europe. So and we have many, right, that are more, I would say, more of a regional, that are very known. Like in South America, you have the Brahma and the Skol, etc.
I also have a sense that we had that huge phenomenon, the microbrewing phenomenon that came up over the last 20 or 30 years or so, which has really changed the landscape for brewing. My sense is that your company has kind of, both does these big, broad, crowd-pleasing brands, but also has some microbreweries and things like that within it, correct?
Yeah, we've got Goose Island, for example, which I love that beer, right? A very strong one. Actually, I think Ogarden started like that. So we have our own like homegrown craft beer, or we have the ones that we were buying in the last few years. There is the part of our company called ZX Ventures that are buying craft beer and joining them and maturing them. And once they become like more than X, in revenue, then they turn them into a global brands.
Now, you've been there for about a year.
Yeah.
And previously, I know you were at Weissberger, and that is a data analytics software company focusing on the beer industry. So what are the particular challenges and opportunities in the beer industry that can be addressed by data analytics?
That is a great question. So as I told you, ABI is a Fortune 500 company, world-leading CPG, accountable for 40% of the beer consumption and 400 brands of beer, right? And they're going through a transformation. I think that many CPGs companies and low-tech companies, you can see it happening with McDonald's, we can see it happening with Domino's Pizza, etc. They're fighting the fight of like digital transformation. The beer category, I think in the West world is going through a tough time, like fighting with liquors and other spirits. And at the end, the company needs to show a growth in bottom line, a growth in the beer category, and it's tough. So we're in years in which we're trying to transform ourselves, right, to become more digital. We think that will bring us that growth. So, and when you want to become more digital, the growth has a link to what you do with data. So data is as a decision-making infra, or I would say data as the base for decision-making gets more weight. And with addition on top of that, I would say AI and ML, right? AI for artificial intelligence and ML for machine learning is becoming a big thing. So ABI wants to become number one in leading this technical transformation, becoming the number one CPG digital company, and a leader and a shaper. So bringing advanced analytics on top of data as a core capability is becoming very big. And we started to adopt best practices in that field, I think, a couple of years ago. And now in the last year, it's been accelerated dramatically since I joined. As data is now treated as a corporate asset, we have so much of it. We had to put really like a structure in it. We had to bring it in different ways to different personas from hundreds of data sources for the story I told you about how this company was created. We had to create our global master data, which was like a mess with like many companies coming together. And most important, create this like what I call full feedback loop of data between all business function of the company, and then unleash the power of AI. So all of that was based on top of a global data platform product that since I joined, we initiated and I lead. It's called BrewDat. You will hear me talking about BrewDat a lot. And we have AI labs, best R&D, test and learn, new algorithms, approaches in the company, like appearing everywhere. And we're trying to bring all of them on top of BrewDat. So this is what I'm trying to do. We adjusted our operation model to be more and more driven by AI. We started to work with predictive models to forecast the future. And we created a huge distributed multi-country data and analytics talent and culture. So pretty exciting times. And today we start to realize the full value of, what it means to have a global data platform, what it means to run AI and run business with AI. So a long answer, but I tried to...
No. That's a great answer. Now, you've been Global Vice President for Architecture and Data Solutions for about a year. You made a quick reference to that. Was that was that platform what you were brought in to do, or is that what you decided to do when you were brought in?
So first of all, I'm not new to ABI. So ABI bought a company that I was a CTO of, right? You mentioned it at the beginning, Weissberger. So so I was Weissberger's CTO, and once they bought us, they acquired us at January 2018. So I've been, and before that, they were our customers. So I met them as our customer, and then I've been working under Weissberger. So they knew me, right? And when they brought me to help them transform a solution organization, a global solution organization, into a technology organization and bring fresh blood of technology leaders that work in technology companies all their career, right? I'm not the only one that was brought, by the way. And we were bringing more tech talents with us, right? Helping to increase our talent pool. And when I joined, I was tasked with some global responsibilities in that technology organization that included data, integration, API, microservices transformation, and overall to look over our global architecture. But very fast, me and my team, we understood that the biggest and most important challenge we're going to focus on was data, right? And my organization today is putting 80%, maybe 90% of our efforts and mind into building BrewDot. So that was like really fast. We evolved ourselves to bring this new brand, a new idea. Yeah. And it's already becoming number one technology backbone of our company really fast. COVID really helped. And that would be the base platform that on top all our main global products will be built or transformed to be built on. And the different functions in the company have, they all have solution groups. As I said, very big company, very, very complex structure. But at the end, there is like a function, and every function has a solution group. And that solution group, as we're evolving to build in-house development, in-house products. And what me and my team are trying to do is bring all those products portfolios on top of BrewDot. So that would be like the one backbone of technology for everything we're building. So it's becoming very big.
Yeah. It sounds like you really are moving very fast. I want to just make sure I understand totally here. When you talked about BrewDot, what data are you collecting there, and how is that data being used? Is that a data lake or something, or what is that?
BrewDot, first of all, is a platform. It's much more than a data lake. It's an ecosystem. I'll give you an example. Let's take Uber. So Uber, you have the drivers, you have the customer that we go and we need a ride, right? So at the end, what is Uber? They're not the drivers, they're not the cars, they're not the users. So what are they? So they are the platform, right? They enable that ecosystem. Same goes for BrewDot. We are an ecosystem for data. We enable data producers and consumer among all the company users, right? For me, all the 180,000 employees can be that customer. But at the end, I believe it's more the technical users. We enable them to create business value out of data. And because the company is so complex and so much sources, as I said, of data, and it's so not structured, you need to build a platform to bring everything together and then to service that data to people per their needs. So there are like 5 different, maybe 6 different personas in a company that need data. It could be a business analyst. It could be a data scientist. It could be a business decision maker. It could be a BI. It could be a developer. They all need data, and you need to serve it in a simple way, in an accessible way, but in different ways. So we built that platform with a couple of layers as an envelope to enable people to reach that data. So it's much more than the data lake, right? The data lake is the lower piece. You need also API layer. You need microservices layer. You need GUI for self-service. You need master data management. You need governance. You name it. It's very complex. And what we found in the process that you cannot go and buy data off the shelf. And it's very related to what the business you support. So we had to build our own in-house IP, proprietary platform to support that need in our company.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that. I mean, people talk about alternative data, and this is like data that, doesn't come from your own operations or, but really gives a broader contextual view. It might even bring in, weather, geopolitics, all kinds of, healthcare. How are you bringing that into BrewDot?
So it's interesting what you're saying. So first of all, you need the data that you bring. It has a couple of layers. First, we need to have the transactional level data. So you want to have what's happening out there. So we bring our own transactions, right? We sell beer, so we have transaction of selling. Right. We bring our financial transaction. We bring everything. We bring our people transaction, whatever is in our system, our logistics, our supply, our marketing. We have so many functions. They all generate transaction. So we bring those in, right?
Right.
We also want to buy transaction that makes sense. So for example, very important transaction is what are our customer, right? Our customers are the point of consumption. It's a beer. It could be a restaurant. It could be a bar. It could be a supermarket, right? There are many type of customers. They also sell out, right? They also sell our products. So those transactions do not exist in our system. They exist in the point of sale. So there it's a bit more complex. So we have two types of ways to bring it because we want it in the transactional level. So or we can go and buy it from a point of sale vendor, or we can bring it from products they integrate with the point of sale vendor. So for example, in Weisberger, we were integrating inside the bar, we're bringing our own sensors, but we're also integrating with the point of sale. We bring that transactional level data, and then we start to put algorithms and understand like what this data brings. And in the big data world, it brings a lot. So this is something we, or again, integrate or we buy. So that's the second type. And then comes like the metadata, the data that you need to bring from the side to enrich the data, or it's our metadata, our employees' data, our customer data, our brands data, our SKU, or I need to go bring it from our side. And the last piece is what you just mentioned. It's the enrichment of the data. So I want to go and buy or bring from open space, right? There are out there in the open data that is available. You don't need to buy. For example, you can get weather data, you can get events data. In the COVID-19 period, we went and found like data around demographic data about when governance took decision on restrictions. We brought that data, and so on and so forth. And what you see when you bring everything together, only then you unleash the real AI, because then you start to understand like the butterfly effect. You start to understand what is the effect of all this data together on decision making and also on the inside. And from that, you can bring the real like recommendation to the business. You can real to your consumers, and then you unleash, things that you cannot really understand before.
During COVID, my beer buying habits have changed.
Yeah. How come?
Well, I walked onto my local brewery. I call them up, tell them what I want, and they bring a 6-pack of beer out to a little table in front of the place.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's not, I wouldn't call that a high volume business, but at least, it's a way to keep the connection going.
I think COVID changed the way we consume. It accelerated the whole like e-commerce, remote. We were a business that we're still like classical business. We had a lot of like sales reps out there, and now we're turning ourselves so much faster to be a digital company. Everything is like online, B2B, B2B2C. It's growing dramatically, and I see it everywhere, right? So it changed the way we consume.
Yeah. So when did your company and Snowflake basically start doing things together? Are you a customer of theirs in a big way or a small way or what?
We started talking with Snowflake at H2 2019, so not long ago. I started, I think, most of the conversations, and we had few months of like dating, okay, as you might say. We ran few successful POCs. I know there were a couple of POCs before I even joined, but nothing went into a real contract. And then I became like a sponsor. I do believe in that solution as much as I saw it. And then we started to test POCs on top of our two main cloud solution. Our number one main cloud solution is Azure, and then the second one I think is AWS. So we started to test a couple of POCs on both. And the idea was simple. We were looking for cloud agnostic solutions, so to become cloud agnostic in our data warehousing, which Snowflake was for that, right? We're bringing that, Performance. We wanted to find the best technology and solution out there to run at scale with data, right? And we saw that as we were scaling up with the different solution out there from Azure and AWS, it was were becoming like a tough mission. It's not that it was impossible, but it became very costly. And we also saw some performance challenges. So that was the second reason we were looking at Snowflake. And the third was cost. We thought that we can reduce actually the cost of our AWS Redshift, our Azure SQL DW. And when we did POCs, it was showing that exactly. So again, those are the three main reasons. And we signed the final global deal during COVID-19 crisis, actually around, I think, March, April. So a global deal And that's it. This is for your point number one. And then asking about the project, we had like 6 initiatives. 3, they are ongoing projects already, signed SOW, and 3...
So are these the proof of concepts, or are these part of the global deal that you
No,
signed?
we had the global deal, and then we had like specific deals per project. We had 6 projects that we were looking at. 3 of those ended up with a project that is live and we're working on together. I can explain if you want. And then there are additional 3 that I see them as more of a prospect and hopefully become a project next year.
Describe one of them that you're entering into now that's real, and kind of like, what's the problem? How does this solve it? What benefits does it bring? And then we can talk about something you're looking forward to.
I think the biggest is a huge transformation. A step back, ABI is built out of 6 zones. So each zone is actually a continent. So if I will use the word zones, just for you to understand. So NAS is our North America zone. So it's the America North, mainly US and Canada. We don't have Middle America there. And in US, we had a Teradata environment on a data center, which is what was a big pain because we really want to move out of it to the cloud. And NAS is our biggest zone in terms of consumption and revenue. And we were looking at a project. When I joined, we were looking at a project of 1 year, many question marks, to transform it to the cloud, move it to Azure. We brought a couple of third-party companies. It was looking very expensive, a lot of things that were unknown. The people were a bit, scared to step into that project. We were talking about a 30 years Teradata amount of data. And I offered to bring Snowflake to that point. It was an idea that came from me, and I pushed the team. And Snowflake came in big and really offered that help, because it's not I would say, a typical let's move to the cloud, or a small company moving to the cloud. It was a big deal. And Snowflake stepped in, and we joined forces, and we're now in the middle of the progress, a couple of months already of that project. It's a signed project, right? And the idea is to move all the Teradata data, to map everything, and then the important data, everything to migrate to Snowflake into the cloud. And again, it's 100% Snowflake. We're looking at a 6 months project instead of a 1 year. We're looking at a project that was mapped completely with Snowflake, moving all the data with Snowflake team and experts. So it looks really promising. There is a great progress going on. So I'm pretty happy.
What kind of benefits are you expecting out of that?
First, I want to have, as much as I can, our solution to become, as we evolve, a cloud agnostic solution. So Snowflake is going to help with that, right? So I can have one zone in a data warehouse in the cloud in Snowflake, and is agnostic. So that's great for us. This is one. And as we evolve, I want to become more and more agnostic.